Okay, so now what we'd like to do is do a little presentation on sharing an inspiring story. And we've got some guests that are going to share with us today. Try and get my slides up. There we go. No, well, stay on point. That's pretty appropriate for me. That's interesting. This one doesn't have a backwards button. It does. Maybe that little tiny thing is a backwards button. Sorry about that. We adapt as we go along. So, wouldn't you like to feel like that little kid up there? Gave presentation and nailed it. I'm just trying to get that Superman pose back for a second, regain my posture. The art and science of sharing an inspiring testimonial. It is obviously critical for us to be compliant and to protect the amazing opportunity and the mission of what ASEA is. And the world is an interesting space around that, with different rules and regulations with health. And so this is a good opportunity for us to remind and to be aware of being compliant and not making false claims, not promising things that we can't deliver on, not saying things we're not supposed to say. It is a bit of a minefield. It's tricky to navigate this area in some countries, and Australia is particularly hard. The products are named different things in different countries because of these rules and regulations. Thankfully, the US is an amazing country and has some legislation that allows claims to be made in that country that are not allowed to be made in other countries. So there is the opportunity for at least to learn a few things. But being compliant and protecting ASEA is really, really critical. So learning to talk about health challenges or even business success as well, I should have actually put that up there, and being compliant is really important. There's a movement in the US as well from regulators to stop the over exaggeration and promising of the business opportunity of a lot of companies in our industry as well. So just be a bit mindful, and it is really worth your time and investment to start to craft your stories and become aware of how to make an impactful story that is truthful and is compliant and it is moving and yet it is safe and it's sustainable and it's going to protect our amazing ASEA. A great way to do that is to use layman's terms. So we can't use medical terms and disease names, but we can use layman's terms, and describing signs and symptoms is really a better way to do it. You can actually go onto Wikipedia and stuff like that and starting to learn a little bit about how to talk about different things, because it's hard to figure out how to say this. But you've all got support in your upline, and this is another reason to come along to events and be involved with training to learn how to speak about things. Listen when people give their testimonial and try and pick what's going on for them. And the more you do that, the more you listen to compliant testimonials, the easier you'll find to give your own compliant testimonial. Sharing your personal journey, that's your truth, and you know it. Sometimes we get stressed out about giving our story, but trust yourself, learn how to be compliant, but then just share what was important to you and share what moved you, how your life was, how your life is, the difference between that emotion and that transformation. That's what people really want to know about. And what you're grateful for. I'm pretty sure you've heard a consistent message from all of our incredible leaders about how grateful we are for our journey. A lot of people are perhaps not so grateful for what they do every day for work or their income. Learn to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weak. It's not weakness. It's actually a great strength. And it actually leads to joy and gratitude. Vulnerability is a beautiful thing. And authenticity, authenticity is an interesting word. It's not, on a superficial level, it's really about black and white truth sort of stuff. But when you start to really get into authenticity, it's much deeper than that. Sometimes we wear masks and we have belief systems and conditioning that we're not even conscious of. And we can do a lot of work on authenticity. And when we are really authentic, we can connect with people in such a more moving way. And that's what we're here for, right? We're a people business. And we grow as people in the business. So learning authenticity is to me, I think, a very important part of this business. and deeply connecting with the person you're talking to. Does anyone know the number one skill for success in any endeavour in life? Hey, listening, fantastic. I heard lots of people say listening. Yes, and there is actually a great audiobook on listening. And be willing to be emotionally honest. Listening for Success. Thank you. I was trying to think of that at the time. I couldn't remember, and that prompted me. Listening for Success. I think it's a two CD. It's not an audiobook. It's an actual 2 CD pack. I forget the author. I'm sorry, but that's great. It's in the US. It's a part of the Power Pack in the Redox shop. Okay, so be powerful and impactful. Remember the pose. Do you need to stand up and do your pose? How about it's time for a stand up? Quick stand up. Just to like move the body a little bit, move the body, take a powerful pose. It feels good, doesn't it? I used to always like stand like this and but like, poof, ground yourself. Like power. Put your chest out. Remember what Tyler said? Learn a bit about the industry, square your shoulders, square your jaw, and tell that person that's giving you a hard time the truth. Fantastic. Another great thing is to speak from the gut. Learn to speak from the gut. Okay, please, thank you for standing up. Take a seat. For a long, long time, I think in life, I spoke from the head. And now I look back at that and I realise how almost anxious that was. Speaking from the gut has a very different energy, a very different connection with people. Think about what's in it for them. When we're listening, when we do the active listening, as the amazing Christina Williams was talking about yesterday, and reflective responses, asking questions about what's going on for them. 2 ears and 1 mouth, good to be used in that ratio. Twice as much listening as talking. We'll hear their concerns. We'll get to their real reason. We'll get to their challenge and their pain. And once they've had a chance to sort of get that out on the table, you've got that trust and that rapport, then you can start to craft the possibility of a solution for them. After I've had a conversation with people and found out what's bothering them, their challenge in life, I'll say, hey, I know something that could perhaps help you with that. Would you like some information? That's my sales pitch. Like, it's not very hard. And it's really a question. It's a sharing of something. But that only happens if I've done my listening and I've figured out what's in it for them. How can this help them? And talk into their needs. So this is a great little structure. You're welcome to take photos on this, and it's just a way to craft your story. My name is Justin. I'm from Bribie Island, Queensland, Australia. Before I started using Redox, life was challenging for my skin. I live in southeast Queensland, and there were bits and pieces on my skin that I was pretty concerned about. I was worried where I'd be at in 20 years' time. Sometimes I'd be a bit itchy, flaky. I knew they were not normal. I was scared, and I'd seen the nasty scars on a bunch of relatives and other people that I know that I didn't want to experience. I used the Renew 28 at least twice a day for about 5.5 months, and something on my face changed. And that gave me a great relief and confidence that there was an option for me in the future, and perhaps I'll be okay, be able to avoid some nasty procedures. And that gives me hope and confidence for the future, and something I can help other people with. Simple, yeah? Simple. Doesn't have to be hard. Thank you for the little claps. Fantastic. If you'd like to really craft a story, it's great to get clear on your dot points. I have a much longer story, and I wrote some dot points out about that, and it's kind of like a journey, and the down part is the emotional part. That's where you get really authentic and you share like how that really challenged your life. And these dot points can create a bit of a structure for you. So if you know your dot points and you know the structure, you know the principles of the conversation, the principles of your story. You don't need to know it word for word, rote learn, but you know the journey. And that's what I said when I started. You all know your journey. It's just how to make that more impactful. And if you make these concise points, it can really help. I'm not going to do my story. That one's way too long.